plan from Sean.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Sean. I'm a senior graphic designer at MFA, and just wanted to take a brief moment here to kind of recap the design and review process as we head into the home stretch of the solid waste management plan. There's been a lot of steps, a lot of fun meetings over the last year and a half, and just want to take a moment to recap it. Yeah, I'll share my screen. We started the process back about a year and a half ago. We kicked off the project with our visual preference survey, and we use these to collect information on design and the brand and the project, and just to really quickly gather information. We look at a lot of similar projects. We break them down into different style groups so that we're able to, before we even get designing on anything, we're able to have a whole bunch of information to get started. And we're not just throwing darts at a board. Gives us a real solid grounding for coming up with the design. So we had lots of fun discussions about design and what we thought the plan could look like. And we took all those comments from these surveys. We had a fun discussion about that, and MFA was able to come up with a couple of stylescapes. And these aren't really full-fledged designs, but we start looking at some of the things we talked about: color treatments, type usage, hierarchy, image treatments, the way we're going to treat tables and figures, backgrounds, and kind of discuss that really quickly before we spend too much time laying out and getting stuck on content of the design. And so we're able to take feedback from the visual preference survey and stylescape. And one of the things that came up during that process was the desire for high quality images for the plan. Some of the other plans we looked at had used photography really well, and that was something that the county was lacking. So MFA set up a photo shoot where we went out and visited 6 sites in 3 days, and we collected lifestyle, operations, technical, and drone photos of these sites that we could use throughout the plan and that the county could use throughout other materials as well. And it's been fun kind of seeing them pop up on the website and other materials that I've come across. And so from there, we did all that initial research, had our initial discussions about the plan, and we were able to come up with 2 really dialed in design concepts. And we presented these initial 2 options, discussed the differences between them, what we liked, what we didn't like, and they were ultimately very similar to what the final plan looked like. So all that research we did up front really cut down on the amount of revision time that we had going into the process. And as we laid out that first section of the plan, we really focused on dialing in design, but also paying attention to any accessibility concerns. So we looked at font sizes, hierarchy of the plan, consistency of type sizes and usage throughout, even line length and justification. All that plays into making this as readable as possible for most people. We also looked at color contrast, especially in some of the figures that we were using, and making sure that it was colorblind friendly and no data was being conveyed solely with color. And we also added in little things like navigational aids and hyperlinking throughout the plan to just make it really easy to navigate and find the section that people are looking for. And at that point, we had all we could do on the design side, and we had a really dialed in draft, a direction to move from. And we were waiting for the rest of the content to be ready. So while we were waiting on that to be ready, we fine-tune some of the tables, brainstorm what the table of contents could look like. And once that content was ready, then we were able to move forward with layout of the entire plan. And while we we're setting up this document, we really focused on building a strong document that would be easy to update in the future. So everything we did while we were working on this wasn't just a one-off. We defined styles for everything from any objects that are in here, any type that is in here, table styles, cell styles. So as you maintain this document in the future, everything, you don't have to worry about the design, you just have to worry about applying styles to everything. And then throughout this process, there were more comments, or there are more brainstorming meetings where we discussed the most efficient ways to handle edits now and in the future. We discussed the best ways to handle figures, how to display data so that it was readable and would be easy to update as numbers changed. And then we also prepped print and web versions throughout the review process. So after each comment and review phase where we turned around another completed document, we prepped print and web versions and incorporated the edits throughout the process. And that brings us to where we're at now. So we have complete documents and looking forward to finalizing the documents, getting it adopted, preparing print and online versions for publication, and prepping the document for handoff. And so we'll collect all the design files and turn those over to the county so that they have everything they need to update this. And then lastly, MFA will be providing training to the county so that they understand how to use this document and it's as easy as possible to maintain it moving forward. And yeah, thanks for letting me share the process. Let me know if there are any questions about it. Otherwise, that is my presentation.
Any questions for Sean?
Looks good.
Yeah, I think it looks fantastic.
Just generally speaking, what's the final target date for going to print with the final draft? Was that after the next meeting?
I don't even know that Sean knows that.
I was hoping you'd jump in, Joanne.
Yeah, I know. I saw it go. Oh, well, so we provided the schedule too. Let me pull it up, and we'll share that during the meeting for you too, Mike, so we can pull it up on the screen and look at it together, so we can look at our upcoming hard dates. But we're gonna get to it. poor Sean's here is just at our mercy with designing. And you did a wonderful job on this, Sean. I can't emphasize enough how incredibly pleased and happy we are with the result of this work. And I'm sorry I'm not there in person. I'm recovering from bronchitis, so I'm not to see you all in April. But Sean, you've done such an amazing job working with us, and we really wanted to highlight not only the design work that Sean's done, but we had so many public comments, so many comments that we needed to respond to from ecology, and Sean had to do a lot of back and forth with us as we were editing this and responding to those comments. So I know we're going to talk about those tonight, and I didn't know if you wanted to speak more about that experience too, Sean, because as we have edits and as we need to make changes, that was something that we really wanted to plan for so that we can keep our plan current, so we can amend the plan as the world around us changes and the system changes. And that's another part of our contract with Malt Foster, is really training us and helping to make us capable of doing that on our own to keep the plan beautiful and current and accessible.
Yeah, and it was the amount of comments. It's nothing unusual. We're kind of prepped for that on our side, but it really was a team effort, especially with Sarah. Just making them as easy as possible for me to understand and having everything prepped so that I wasn't wasting time trying to figure out the process. We were able to come up with a process that was really efficient, and we were able to get through a lot of those comments pretty quickly on our end. And yeah, so thanks to Sarah for making that as easy as possible.
Yes, Sarah was our champion. I know she's gonna be uncomfortable by me just wanting to applaud at how amazing she is at
Yep.
keeping us all. Yeah, she's like, I'm gonna stay off camera because I know you're probably blushing, but Sarah has been amazing. She's taking on this project and really completely kept us all in line, and all the little details that it requires when we're making a lot of edits to specific sessions. We wouldn't have been able to do this without her. So that skill set was just shined. So I'm just clapping. You can't see me, but I'm clapping for you, Sarah.
Any other questions for Sean? No, all right, let's move on to review the update on chapter 6 organics. So Joelle, are you able to talk to kind of what major changes were made to the first?
And I might defer to Sarah on this
Yeah.
too.
Public speaking's not my favorite, but I can probably talk.
Thank you. And because you just mastered the rewrites on both of these chapters. Speak to it, but I'm
well,
not going to do as well as you.
a big part of the problem when you are writing a plan that's supposed to last for 5 to 20 years in the future, right, is the laws in solid waste are constantly changing. And so what we ran into with the organics chapter was that the ecology hadn't established the guidelines by the time we were at the point where we had to draft it, get it to Sean for his formatting and making it all beautiful. And then what ended up happening is we submitted it on June 30th. And then July 1st, Ecology said they created a new rule that said anything that is being edited between now and or after July 1st had to meet the new organic management laws, which meant we had to go back to a complete rewrite. So that is why this chapter is very different from what you were looking at in 2023, which just before I was here. But that is why this looks so dramatically different, because we didn't have guidelines. Then those guidelines came out the day after we submitted, and then we had to come back and redo the whole thing. There's a lot of changes that are happening with organic management laws. I'm not our organics expert. That's definitely another member of our team. So she took on the bulk of the work with compiling it all, reaching out to our partners to get their feedback, and clearing it with Ecology to make sure that we are in fact interpreting their interpretation of the new organic management laws correctly. It has cleared commenting from everybody, and then we handed it off to Sean to make it look beautiful. Some of the main items in here, again, I'm not the organic management law expert, but we have the organic ORCAs. I don't remember what they're called, but it's basically designated areas that are required to meet certain organic management laws. We have the BOMA, which is all about business organic management, and the way Clark County fits into all of these, we were able to take the regulations, make it fit to our local current condition, which honestly, a lot of what we said is that we don't have capacity for what's being asked now, but we're working on it. And that was kind of the basic changes that have occurred since you last reviewed this, or for the newer people. I don't know if you've had a chance to review the old one, but this is where we are now.
And
So
I would add that everyone received copies of Ecology's comments, so you can kind of cross-reference the comments with the new chapter too, right, Sarah? So Ecology directed us to make the changes that we made, and you'll see our response to their comments, and then you see the new chapter reflected in the plan.
And another big piece that we actually are also participating in the Guidelines Rejuvenation and Modernization Group, which is a ecology-run group that is trying to modernize and bring up to date their guidelines for how to write a solid waste management plan. And in those meetings, we were also, which is just today, we were also talking a lot about audience and who this audience is. So another big challenge that we've run into with this is trying to make this plan at a high school reading level so it's accessible to all members of our public. So that was something else that was a big challenge when there's so much of this is technical and so much of this is legalese and RCW and WAC controlled, that that was a big challenge. So I'm hoping that when you read it, you were able to see that I was trying to get that. This chapter in particular was hard because there is an awful lot of code guiding it, but that was a pretty significant challenge and a goal for working through this new revision.
All right. Has everyone had a chance to review the organics chapter? Is there any questions about the process I went through to get to the updated organics chapter? All right.
I'll make a quick note. I noticed that in one of the summaries of points in the plan, it referred to in the organics area that there was going to be a coordination with the Clark County Food Bank in incorporating their data with the organics expectations. And I was glad to see that that was, in the works. So my compliments to the review.
I will say that as this is all new information to me, this was a very easy read and it was easily digestible. So mission accomplished there.
That is such great feedback. I'm so grateful you said that. I'm going to sleep well tonight. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Well, great. So on our agenda, let's vote. If I have anyone make a motion to approve chapter 6 as it's been presented.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Aye. All right. That moves on. All right, chapter 11, funding and financing.
I think I'm going to let Joelle or Jeff talk about the funding and finance.
Well, so I'll introduce Jeff. So basically, chapter 11, when we submitted this draft in June of 2023, I think it was. I'm trying to think back how long it's been at this point. Well, I guess it was 2024. We hadn't finished our master services agreement, our contract negotiations. There was still a lot of uncertainty in some of our funding and some of the pieces that Ecology wanted to see reflected in this chapter. Once we got that contract signed at the end of September of last year, we realized that this chapter was going to need a little bit of work. So we expected that, and you can see that in Ecology's comments that were submitted and that you all reviewed over the last month. So we do have some changes to some of the tables, and I know Jeff is here to kind of speak to that as he's our administrative services director and our finance director. But we really wanted to make sure to let SWAC know that this chapter again is a full rewrite. And we did our best to incorporate all of the comments that we got from both the public jurisdiction or the municipalities and Ecology. Did I cover it, Sarah, in general? Think so. So Jeff, do you want to speak to some of the tables? I guess maybe we could skip to the pages with some of the tables on them. Amanda.
So I apologize, but at that moment, I kind of zoned out when you said Sarah, and I was hoping you were talking about Sarah Kearns, but it sounds like it was
Nope.
me. One of the main things that happened with this chapter, and I don't know if you said this, I apologize if I'm repeating. I was just so excited chapter 6 was approved. I had to text my friend. But with this chapter, a big issue that happened with this is that when we were writing the plan and submitting it to Sean way back in April and May, we didn't have a signed contract yet with CRC and City of Vancouver. Since that has now been assigned, so much of our financial piece was outlined in that. So again, I'm sorry if Joelle said this already, but that was a big driving factor in having to make some of these changes, was to take the MSA language and incorporate it into the plan. So to, you know, increase transparency and more clearly identify our funding sources.
Yes, perfect. And I think one of the significant the comments that we got back from Ecology was that they really wanted to see our tables and our plan more similar, like similar to Kitsap County's plan. They wanted to, as Ecology was reading it and trying to identify how the narrative speaks to the table. And so we spent a lot of time, we had a separate meeting specifically with Ecology to talk about the fact that, you know, if it was written in the plan, they wanted to see it in the table. And so the changes to the table, it was a lot of back and forth with Ecology as well. Okay, I'll let Jeff take it away.
Yeah, so I work with solid waste staff as well as our county auditor's office and my finance. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought, okay, and my finance team to build some of these tables. I do want to actually give a brief alert. Even these tables, they're going to need to change slightly. Clark County has not closed the 2024 books quite yet. There have been some changes. I believe I emailed this entire group as well as the Regional Solid Waste System Steering Committee with a new version of the Fund 4014, which you'll see there, the expenditures on the right of the screen. Some of those are going to change slightly. So what you received in email form not that long ago is far more representative of what this will actually include. I just re-downloaded December data earlier today. There was about, I want to say $200 in additional costs that have posted since that table. I did talk to our county auditor's office. They do not expect anything else to post to what is called the operating book. Everything they've got left to complete before year end will not affect this table. So we're going to update this table. These are representative of the different funds, that the different regional funds, the solid waste fund, which you're looking at there. We've got the regional solid waste fund in this report, as well as the DCI MRF. There's the DCI MRF. So all of the regional funds and data from those funds are included in this chapter 11. I wasn't really prepared to cover much in this meeting, but I was ready to answer questions if there were any.
I had a question about the wages and salaries. Is there any FTE data anywhere in these tables just to determine kind of the average salary per employee to follow the increases?
There's not in this table. That is public data. I could share something. Our budget is actually usually on our website, and that has programmatic budgets which include FTE tables. Yeah, I will be as transparent as possible and share whatever I can.
Perfect.
Mike, I think you're on mute, but I think you're.
Oh, there we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, on the revenue side of things, and looking for some guidance because I was trying to comb through the various charts. Throughout the document, it refers to revenue received from the sale of recyclables. And in the original draft that we were going back a couple of years ago, there actually was a chart that referred to $1.7 million in revenue from the sale of recyclables. I could not find a reference to that or a breakout to that, but in all honesty, there are some acronyms in here that kind of lost me. So and I tried to see if I could figure them out. But the quick question, and I'm sorry for this, is where in these charts does it show the revenue shared back with the county from the sale of recyclables that was reported in a chart originally a couple of years ago of around $1.7 million?
I am completely unaware of $1.7 million coming in from that, but I can, I think this question was asked at the Regional Solid Waste Steering Committee meeting last month. If whoever is controlling this can scroll to the left. The Solid Waste Curbside Revenue Share Program, which is the second from the bottom row in the revenue. I believe that is the sale of recyclables, and Joelle can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, and that's related to our residential recycling contract, our single family and multifamily contract, Mike. So that's different than, I don't know, I think I saw Derek on here, and I know we've had chats about,
Yeah, that's why I referred to the chart, the specific chart where it appeared in the original draft that we were reviewing. And where we were looking to make recommendations on additional items, segments of the recyclable waste that we may want to target. We were using that as a benchmark as to where we are and where we could go. And and it was broken out as a separate item and forecasted in that chart in the original draft. If anybody needs a photocopy of that, I've got it here, and would be happy to attach that to an
Mike-
email and route it to
Mike, when
everybody.
you say original draft, are you talking about the solid waste management plan draft that we did? I think it was in 2023. It was like June of 2023, or was there an earlier draft? Like, I'm just wondering which draft it was.
No, that's probably the draft, and it was chart 7.10.
7.10, and it was in one of the drafts that we've been reviewing.
It hasn't appeared since. I've been looking for it because I've been reviewing it from the standpoint of with us going to a new MRF and also a fourth site that thought that, how could we gain additional revenue? And one of the things I was hoping to bring to the meeting tonight was a just tonnage by state of recycled material. And there's just if we could just get as good as I hate to say this, but California in just their tonnage, we recover at least statistically on national reports 160 pounds per person in the state, and California recovers 204 pounds. If you applied that to that $1.7 million that was reported on that chart, that's close to $400,000 if we could just find out what another state's doing. And that's not even, there's two more states above that, or I should say we're ranked 16th nationally. So there's some things we could do. If we have access to the revenue, there's good reasons to make changes to go for the revenue and also make specific suggestions to Columbia Resource on the type of MRF that they design. I mean, there was, when you look at our state versus the California, Oregon, and the number one in the country, Maine, on just something like aluminum cans, we're barely half of the potential. And it's documented. I'm going to, like I said, I was hoping to bring this tonight, but my vision limitations and my wife not being here to get me home prohibited me from coming. But it's, you presented the chart to us that showed the revenue. But then that revenue stream disappeared as a identified line item after that.
I can tell you I've had the solid waste fund in public health for, I want to say 8 or 9 years. I've never seen $1.7 million come in for that source. Our largest funding source is the regional admin fee, and there's not another source that comes even close to that.
Well, Derek
Uh,
actually confirmed that number.
I'm
because-
just saying to Clark County, I'm sorry.
Yes, and like I said, the thing that, that's why I wanted to find out about this, because Derek originally had provided some tonnage by type of waste stream that we're recovering. And I made the mistake of taking some national numbers. And if we were in the most optimum market for each of the things that we're currently breaking out, it was actually a $22 million revenue potential. And Derek pointed out that that was dramatically overstated. So I talked to some people in different states and found out that there actually is the pricing company, Recycling Markets Inc., or NET. And so I talked to them and found out our local numbers, our region of the North America. And yeah, we actually came within a few $1,000s of using their published numbers to what Derek said when he confirmed that it was much lower when I said that, and I apologized actually to the group and mentioned it at that time. No one at that time said that the source was wrong or the projection was wrong. So my question, I guess, specifically is, in this material, this plan in multiple locations, there are 3 or 4 where it is specifically referenced that the revenue from the sale of recyclables is part of the revenue received by the county. I don't see the breakout in the revenue chart.
It is not. You see in the 23 and 24 actuals on the screen you're looking at right there, that is the revenue that has been received by the solid waste fund for 2023 and 24.
And
Well-
it's a very so Clark County is very unique. I'll just say that because the transfer station, there's a couple reasons for it. One is that the post collection system in Clark County is holistic. It involves garbage, organics, and recycling, which is unique. Not many places have all 3 bundled into one contract, and so you wind up with the rates in the model were set up 30 years ago when recycling really just began. And so it was built on a system in a compensation system when recycling was worth, $200 a ton, let's say. Cardboard had a lot of value. Some of these other things had a lot of value. Just due to sheer dynamics in the recycling markets, the shifting from domestic mills to international, then back to domestic, China sort, all these different things. The price of recycling has dropped dramatically, the value of the material. But our model didn't really change to incorporate that. So right now, just to make it simple, for every, let's say, ton that Clark County brings in and sorts, let's say the value of it's about $100 a ton. The contract for CRC says CRC will keep about $40 of that $100. The rest of that goes back to the county as a revenue share. And so that's the revenue that you're talking about, you see come in, and that's paid and reported on a quarterly basis. How the county tracks it, I don't know exactly, but that's the money that you're thinking of, Mike, and I don't know exactly what the dollar amount is. Now, the other part of this, the other part of this equation is it may have $100 of value, and CRC gets paid, let's say about, again, $40 or $50 a ton. So think about that. CRC, the value of the material is $100. We only keep 50 of that. It costs over $130 a ton to process. So CRC loses because of that old contract that we pay the county that money. They get that revenue. We lose $75 to $80 a ton on the material, which we now then also the county about 5 years ago agreed to an additional tip fee for recycling, which is another $75 to $80 to get CRC back to break even. So CRC doesn't make any money on recycling. It actually still loses a little bit of money on recycling every year. So when we talk about and think about a new MRF, you have to be really careful because there's not going to be a revenue source unless the recycling market changes dramatically in the next 2 to 3 years. There's not going to be a revenue source for municipalities, because it's always going to cost more than the value of the recycling really is. Even though we're going to build a state-of-the-art facility that's going to probably process about 95% of the material that's coming through will be captured in this new system. It will still cost the community to do recycling. There won't be a net benefit.
You're the expert in that, and I defer to what
Yeah.
you just said. But I will say that as far as the SWAC supposed to be a kind of a conduit with the consumer of Clark County, that it would be nice to show if it's a negative number. I think we ought to show that it's a negative number, and that's a cost of, it's kind of like, we're going to tax you, but the reason we're taxing you is because it costs money to handle this waste in a proper way. So I would recommend that we specifically identify it, even if it is a negative number, so that we can educate the Clark County citizens as to, what's going on. And if the market changes in a particular commodity, I think that, or byproduct, that they'd be aware of it, and they'd be able to, as technology advances, and it has, and it does in different parts of the country, based on the percent recovered, why not show it? Why not break it out and educate our citizens? It's a value of the tipping fee. If that's the reason why the tipping fee is there, fine. If it covers a loss, you're not in the business of losing money. That's definitely based on your corporate profitability. That's the last thing Waste Connections wants to do, is lose money. So we want to contribute to that positive cash flow of the corporation.
Yeah, and so I guess I would defer to Joelle on how you best, how everybody best feels it would be presented. I mean, it's work that we do between Waste Connection staff, the city staff, the county staff. We all work together to produce that information every month and quarter, and we can certainly walk SWAC through the model if you'd like. And then, again, what it's going to look like with a new MRF is to be determined. It'll be simplified probably in a lot of ways, but it's not yet established.
Mm-hmm.
My concern is I just know that a lot of people feel like recycling should have all this value and this money coming in, and really recycling still at a net negative. It's still, depending on the recycling facility in the Portland, Vancouver market, you're looking between a loss, not a loss, but having to pay $50 to $100 a ton to process the material. So,
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, to Mike's point, I think that says exactly what we need to do. Is, there needs to be an education element to everything. Recycling has been missing a lot of education element for a long time. I know that I have a lot of conversations, dinner conversations. Sorry, I've got a cold, so I'm not talking well. Dinner conversations with people when I explain the recycling market and how much money it loses, that just flabbergast them. It's a thing that comes up over and over again. So I think, to Mike's point, showing the negative is probably a really good education source. And if we can do that in this model, I think that helps a lot. Just my opinion.
All right, were there any other questions on the financial tables from section 11? Julie's got her hand up.
Yeah, I was just to offer a point of clarification, and that is the revenues that are shown from the sale of recyclables are only for the county's portion. To Derek's point, the revenues are from the processor, Columbia Resource Company, that the city's collection contract for recyclables and counties are delivering materials to. And then through the model, as Derek described, we then share any remaining revenues after going through a methodology. So it's not showing you comprehensive because it is not intended to, nor is that the guidelines. So just to the point of the complexity of that line item in this chart that Jeff is sharing, it's nuanced, but absolutely happy to help support clarifying if that is helpful.
Thank you, Julie.
Yeah, thank you. Just for my clarification. So on the on the revenue, and I'm actually looking online, I'm not browsing the internet here. But, looking at, this single family recycling, and showing the revenue, you know, 250,000. That is the county's portion from Waste Connections for the sale of recyclables. And it's not including the true cost of processing those recyclables. That is under Waste Connections budget line. Am I, because I'm trying to follow exactly what.
So I would let Derek or Joel confirm this. From how I understand it, the single family recycling revenue is based on enrollment. So we receive a flat amount per enrollee per month, which is the same as the multifamily recycling and the yard debris. Joella, is that correct?
And yeah, it's just important to know that that's not for the whole county, including the cities. That's just for the unincorporated areas of Clark County. That's just for that where our recycling contract covers. So that's only a portion.
Yeah, so there's two different revenue sources for the county. So they have a contract for collection of recycling, and so that's just the, you know, curbside service. For every home in Clark County, I believe it's 25 cents-ish a home per month is paid. Waste Connections, well, I mean, we essentially have it built into our rate. So if you pay $5 or $6 for recycling, a quarter of that is for this administrative fee, and then that is paid to the county every month. And so it's the 25 cents per home per month. And then separate from that, the recyclables, the actual per ton amount when it's processed and sold and everything else, that's a separate dollar amount or different calculation.
All right, thank you for the great questions. If we don't have any more questions, we could move on, but if there are any additional questions.
So I guess my question is, Waste Connections is paying Clark County by the tonnage for recyclables, whatever that amount is. Where is that money going? Where is it being shown in this? It doesn't sound like it's being shown in this line item. So anywhere. So we're getting some revenue in that's not being shown. Is that?
No. Can someone share the screen again?
I guess I'm just a little confused. Is anyone else on the same boat as me, or am I just lost and we can move on?
So I think we have the table pulled up. Mike, I just want to make sure that we're addressing Mike's question first, because we pulled up the 2023 draft that we brought to you all in I think it was June of 2023. So there's figure 7.1 that's on page 156. So I can share. I just want to make sure that we're looking at what, you know, just explaining why we pulled something out.
If you, yeah, it's table 7.10 on it's I think the page is 726, 7-26.
So can you see the screen? Is it this? Was it this pie chart?
No, it's a chart. It's actually a it's performance metrics, and it's existing West Van MRF is the first column, and then it projects what the how that would increase with a new MRF, and shows that 1.7 could grow up to potentially $4 million. And
are you looking at it right now, Mike?
Pardon?
Are you looking at the chart right now?
Yes, I am.
You hold it up in front of your camera. Maybe that'll just be the easiest way to see this, and we can find it
A little higher.
a little higher. 7.
Okay, we're gonna look for this, and then we can go to the next question. I'll keep doing some. I am wondering if you're looking at an appendix that was part of the regional system study. So is it one of the appendices? Because
No.
that's still in our plan. We did a regional system study that was completed in June of 2023. And that was just, you know, the JRMA, the J.R. Miller and Associates consultant contract that we did to do an evaluation of the state of our regional system. So I think that that's what that table's from. And so we're not changing anything that J.R. Miller did with that study.
No, it's chapter 7 that was titled Feasibility Study Materials Recovery Facility Options.
So
The reason I think this is kind of significant is that I don't want to keep hounding Derek on false expectations. I mean, there's, and I'll share with everybody when I'll subscribe to it again. There is a pricing software company that breaks the North America into 8 zones, and Derek is right. The zone that we're in, it's a low value zone, and it speaks to the disparity of the value. It's probably supply and demand over time, but also having, I'll say, not firsthand, but I'll say legitimate secondhand exposure to people in the manufacturing business of steel and aluminum and things like that, the ability to recover those items besides, you know, we talk about cardboard and we talk about the various types of plastics, the values are there, and they're updated literally every month. So these prices aren't based on a model from a few years ago. They're based on the current market. And if I had, 10 tons of aluminum cans, I'd be trying to find out what the going rate was. And this is the benchmark that the market uses, this recyclingnetworks.net, to find out the specific value of individual recycled, remarket product segments. And, we've got a growing economy. We've got a growing population. And I'll share with this group, I've been frustrated by our Columbia River Economics Development Council not being responsive to finding out what they're trying to do to encourage industry in this arena in our area. But so it appears, until I'm proven otherwise, I saw that number a while back, and you start thinking about growth and getting a new MRF where you could refine it and get even more stuff out. It looks like it could be a legitimate revenue source, but if I'm all wrong,
So Mike, we didn't remove that part. The one that you're the referencing, that is part of the regional system study in the phase 1. So we still have the full regional system study as an appendix to the current plan. So we didn't take that out. It's just that was a study that our consultant did. That wasn't the county's table.
But is that a real number or not? 1.7 million.
That was, they're doing estimates for what they think is a possibility, but it's not a real number in the sense of it's not something that's occurring right now in Clark County. It's not money that, do you know what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying. It was the way, then I misinterpreted then the documentation is presented.
Which,
sorry, if you guys don't mind, I was gonna mention there, if you haven't been following the bills, all of the bills up in Olympia, every one of them. They're talking a bottle bill for Washington State, or, and we can consider it a can bill if you want. And so it makes me wonder, is there local, of course, even if they pass it, we won't know until they, it matriculates down and to, how the finances work out, but it'd be interesting to find out if some of that money stays locally. If it passes, of course, that's the first step.
That's a good point, because I think there's 11 states in the country, maybe 16, but I think it's 11 that actually have deposits on their glass, and Oregon being one of them, and California also. And there is legitimate revenue to be had, especially because one of the things that it does is it allows, and Derek can speak to this, if glass can be separated, the brown from the green and the clear, then there's a marketable value. When it's all together, you have to pay somebody to haul it away. But if you can separate it, it's got value.
Well, I would not agree with that. I think that you need a market, and there's not a market for that separated glass. And so I'd be careful about that. I think these are great aspirations, but you have to have a company come in and want to build a means of taking that material, and that does not currently exist. And that's why everything gets ground up and shipped to glass, because that's the only current option for glass in the market area. There's no company that does that accepts sorted glass right now. And so you have to be a little bit careful about that. And the bottle bill is an interesting one, because Clark County right now in the curbside revenue program or curbside program, I'd say there's probably about $2 million of aluminum sales that would go away under a bottle bill. It'll go to a state program, and it will come out of the Clark County recycling program, which means, again, you're still running the same type of equipment, but there's less revenue to support it. So that means that the rates for curbside service in Clark County would go up with a bottle bill, not to mention you'd also be paying 10 cents to the state. Hopefully we get better return rates, but that's to be determined, I guess. So it will make the consumer will pay more with the bottle bill than they're currently paying right now.
Derek, do you think our local representatives are aware of that?
We have had our local state representatives to West Van and discuss the bottle bill, and our statewide group, Washington Refuse and Recycling Association, daily is meeting with people to discuss it. And I think it's a matter of opinion whether or not it's a good idea or not. And I think, it depends on the frame of mind you're looking at it from, but I mean, the reality is it will take revenue out of the recycling system in Clark County. So curbside recycling will become more expensive to the homeowner, and then they'll be paying that 10-cent redemption fee, at the grocery store as well. So it's almost a double tax on the consumers in Clark County. And I don't know, other people may know how, like if you have an Oregon bottle recovery type redemption system, I don't know how those funds flow back into the communities, and I don't know if they do. So if you're taking your 10 cents and you're giving it to a state consortium or a state producer responsibility organization, I don't know how that is then being returned to the people so that there's value created for them, I guess, whether it's education or other resources or whatever it may be.
Sounds a little bit like tariffs, excuse me.
I mean, you're right. You're doing it for the good, right? To try and increase redemption levels, which is good, but it is expensive and it's going to cost more. And we're already neighboring a bottle bill state, so it's not going to be as impactful to us because we already lose a ton of revenue from gleaners that go out in the community and pick up cans and bottles from people's homes before the trucks get there, and they take it back to Portland to redeem it. So that's already, reducing our revenue to a certain extent, but it's going to have an even bigger impact on, other parts of the state that aren't next to a bottle bill state, because it'll drive their revenues down as well. It'll be interesting.
Hey, Derek, since we got you on the line, I just thought I'd throw out there that generally Farm Bureau has been very much against that bill because they keep throwing I think that bottle bill, they keep calling it the RAP Act or the Re-RAP Act or something. And
the RAP Act was what, couple years ago, and then the Re-RAP came after that, and they both had a bottle bill component in them, and then now this year they've separated it out. It's its own.
Oh, have they? Okay.
Yeah.
What they keep throwing at agriculture, or at least for farmers, is mandatory, X amount of recycled or recyclable material. And as, you know, especially the packagers, especially like over in Wenatchee and stuff, the apple packers, they're like, I'm sorry, we are, you know, our, you know, our wholesaler, our retailer, or yeah, not suppliers, but our the companies we're packing for, you know, kind of set this, and there is no workaround for, you know, what they're requiring. So anyway, I just thought I'd mention that.
All right, that's, any other questions about funding and financing?
I do want to reiterate one more time, all of the financial tables in this plan are 100% representative of all of the financial activity that have posted to these funds. There's nothing that's been held back. This is all the activity.
I guess I understand that, Jeff. I'm just curious if Derek says that Waste Connections is paying the county a tonnage fee for recyclables. Where is that money going to the county, and which, I mean, it's not, obviously not any of these funds. So where is what funds are they going into? Are you aware of where that's going?
So we've got the contributions to the regional solid waste fund, which is a new fund 6318, which is in this table as well. That may be what is being discussed. Derek, is that what you were referring to?
Yeah, I don't know how you classify it or where you put it, but we've got the curbside per home fee, which is a flat amount essentially.
Yep,
And
that's
that's
right in front of
probably
everybody.
your revenue share. I don't think it's the revenue share.
It's the
but,
solid waste, single family recycling,
that line,
multifamily
yep.
recycling, yard
Yep.
debris. Yes.
So that's that, and then the yard debris is the same sort of thing. And then I believe the curbside revenue share program right there is the amount that's listed. And I believe that it may have gone to zero recently just because of the cost, the value of commodities had diminished so much that there may not have been any actual revenue going to the county. It's like I said, it's a model that we'd have to show you so you understand how it kind of works through it. But it's dependent on that model is currently only dependent on the value of CRC gets a fixed fee to process the material that's CPI'd every year. Unfortunately, it was a fixed fee set in 1993, and it was set at like $30 a ton. And that's just, you know, again, processing is more like $130 a ton. So it's been CPI'd over time, but it's only up to $42 a ton. So there may not be a lot of revenue coming through to the county out of the program. I just don't remember off the top of my head how much it would be, but it might be that line item right there, the curbside revenue share program. And it could have been zero in 2023.
Thank you, Derek.
All right, any other questions or comments?
And I think it's good that everyone is so engaged and asking really great questions. I think it's giving you know, our team some thoughts about maybe we want to have one of our SWAC meetings focus on rates and kind of talk about how we break stuff down in the future. I mean, right now we're so focused on the solid waste management plan and getting that through, but you know, if that's something that maybe we want to focus a future meeting on, let us know. And really wanted to emphasize that the county revenue isn't the same as the system revenue. So just notice that too. So as you're going through the plan, like, you know, it's easy to confuse. You're looking at a table, and just know that with the appendices, we are referencing studies throughout the plan, but those studies are not reflective of like income or revenue that we got. And that the funding chapter, the chapter 11, is what's reflective of what the county is operating with in terms of budget. That's helpful. Just wanted to kind of like wrap that part up.
All right, can I get a motion to approve chapter 11 funding and financing?
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you, sir. All in favor?
Hi.
All right, passes. Moving on. Review public comments. Sarah, to share comments. Sarah Schroeder.
Yeah, so really we gave you guys, I think it was last SWAC meeting, we gave you printed copies of the public comments we received. Just to remind, we have new people, so just to remind you guys and to explain the process a little bit. This is a formal review process that requires us to have 30 days notice, public announcement to let everybody know that we are going to be opening it up for public comment. And then after that 30-day notification, we have a 30-day period where we're open for commenting. And at the end of that 30-day period, we allowed 2 additional weeks for SWAC members so they could be making their comments based on what the public was saying. We ended up with a pretty significant amount of comments. The vast majority of those comments were from municipalities in the area. And then we did have a handful from SWAC and a handful from just the broader public. At that same time, we also submitted our preliminary draft to Ecology. I think looking back as a lesson learned, I wouldn't do those simultaneously again, but that's a 5-year from now problem. But this time, Ecology was commenting at the same time. They did take a pause when I told them that we had the dashboard available, which I remember you guys all being informed of, but if anybody is not aware, we do have a public dashboard that is on our website that you can go and you can see the public comments that we received. So from there, what we did, Sean kind of talked through the process a little bit with how we did it on the design side, but I was going through and I was processing each of the comments. So each comment that we received was touched by one of us. Changes were made to reflect those comments, or we responded saying why, thank you for your comments. Some of them were just general comments and ideas for things that we could do in the future. And another part of the plan, which the new plan that you have also has a new appendix, and in that appendix is all of the Ecology comments. That is not a requirement, it's a strong recommendation, and we are trying really hard to make this go as smooth as possible with Ecology. So we put their comments in as a new appendix. So it's going to be part of the formal plan once it's adopted. So if anyone has any questions about the comments that they read, the process, I'm happy to answer them. And I can show you my dashboard because it's really pretty. I like making dashboards. I have it up ready to go if I figure out how to share my screen. So am I sharing? Nope. There we go. So this dashboard, it shows a breakdown of the different types of commenters that we had. So about 5% were community members, 14% were SWAC, and then 81% of the comments was municipalities. I have it broken down by which chapters were received the most comments, recycling and the appendices. But a lot of those appendice comments were typos that Julie found. So then we also have all the different comments that came in. It's organized by chapter, so you can scroll through and see all the comments this way. And then again, the Ecology comments are not on here. That was a Word document that they sent to us. And then that Word document was then formatted to fit our style and then put into the solid waste management plan as Appendix S, I think, off the top of my head. I really liked this. I thought this was very fascinating to see all the different, what was the most interesting to people. I'm hearing no comments. That's exciting. No questions.
It looks great though.
Yeah.
Isn't it pretty? I really like my chart. So I can stop sharing. I'm so not familiar with Zoom. I have not done Zoom in so long. Oh, there's a stop sharing button. There it is. So
interesting that there were no comments about the funding and financing. Usually that's where people focus.
That was fascinating. That was a big bulk of the Ecology comments though.
No.
Sarah, was that chapter completed by the time of the spring review? Or was there?
It was in the draft, but it was not the way it looks now. It was, I think that Ecology very gently said it was kind of thin, is what they said. So we expanded quite a lot for the revision of that one.
right, thanks so much, Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, I can, next steps with ecology on this. They are going to be giving us a kind of an informal review following once everything gets approved. So we got this meeting now, and then we have the next one in April. And then after that, I'm going to be sending it to them so they can confirm that all the edits got made. And then we'll get back to you if there's any additional comments at that point. But from now, I think that we've addressed all of ecology's comments. So thank you.
Fantastic. All right, so really that concludes today's meeting.
Joelle is just looking
I
for.
Oh,
I think we did want to just talk about next steps and schedule. I think I heard that, right? So I just wanted to make sure that we had sent out an Excel. And I'm having issues sharing on Zoom, so I'm gonna email this over to Amanda. I believe that it's this one, but essentially I'll kind of talk us through it. Today, we wanted to make sure to let you know that chapter 6 and chapter 11 were full rewrites. We wanted to make sure that everyone had time to read them. They've been approved. That's wonderful. We also wanted to make sure that everyone had time to look at the comments. So that was part of our schedule and our timeline. Next month in April, so we have our next additional SWAC special meeting on April 10th. And that meeting is to approve the plan. So our goal is between today and before our next meeting, you'll complete a final review. And when I'm prepared to come to the April meeting to approve the plan. If the plan gets approved by SWAC on April 10th, then we will be sending it to Ecology for a courtesy review on April 11th. And then Ecology said they will have a response back for us on May 16th. So,
Joelle, just to clarify,
yeah,
I might have misheard you, but I thought I heard you say the next meeting is April 10th, but I think it's the 3rd, unless that got changed.
yeah, with we had some people say that because the first week of April is a spring break week for a lot of people, we moved it to the following Thursday, for that reason.
Okay, I just missed that and all the emails I get from Amanda.
I know that Amanda and her email, no, we try, everybody has a different method of communication. So we send, some people are super email, some people, it's more better to kind of go over it in person. So we're just trying to make sure that everyone understands what our next steps are, because we are on a rather tight timeline at this point, because we need to get this finalized and adopted by October. Otherwise, we're going to have to start over to some degree, which we do not want. I don't even want to say that. So, just knowing that the next meeting is really the goal to have a vote for approval. And if there's concerns or questions that happen, we wanted to make sure that, we're available. You can reach out to us. But this really is not we already have been through the comment period and we've addressed all the comments. So if there's an error or something that we see, that's one thing, we'll address that. But the goal is to really vote to have it approved or not approved. And then we still need to go through that ecology review, because Ecology might say, yeah, SWAC said this is fine and you think it's fine, but you need to do X, Y, and Z. And if that happens, then we're going to have to come back with the next SWAC meeting, which would be the May SWAC meeting. The May SWAC meeting, and present any of that to you. Did I capture that right, Sarah? Because I think that was the window where we said, hey, if Ecology does have stuff, we need it so that we can bring it to that May SWAC meeting. Was it May or June? Yeah, May. And then June, we're going to begin doing the resolutions of adoptions with the city councils, because we have to have all of the resolutions of adoptions included with the plan in order to get it approved and finalized with Ecology. And that all has to happen before October 25th.
That does sound accurate. And just to clarify, that 365-day rule is new. That was something that did come out of the Graham meeting I was mentioning earlier, and they're planning on sticking to it. So if we have 365 days to get the plan fully adopted from when they return comments to us, which is why we're kind of wanting to start planting this, planting the seeds here that we need to make sure that we're moving towards council meetings to get on the schedule to make them happen.
And from our understanding with being, participating in those guidelines, rejuvenation meetings with ecology is that, they would give a comments to counties to fix things in their plan, and then it would go on for years and years, and then the comments would then, so really it's a way to kind of force counties to make sure that they're staying on track and force cities to do the resolution. So it's just a way to try to keep the plans current. And I think that's why they are being a real stickler with that 360, whatever it was, 360-day turnaround. So any questions about the timeline or what we're asking of all of you?
Well, all right.
No, thanks, Joel.
There's no further questions or comments, then this meeting will be adjourned. See you guys all April 10th. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks so
Thank
much,
you.
everyone.
And thanks to BIA for letting us use this awesome space.